Alrighty. Hello. Alrighty. Hello. You know, it would probably help if I made sure to mute myself. That's always a smart idea. Oh, alright. How is everyone today? I know, probably, mute my phone would be useful. I don't need no stinking notifications that I'm going live. Because I am going live. Oh. Alright, well, how is everyone doing today? Yeah. There. That's better. Studio sees we're live. Rumble sees we're live. Odyssey took a moment to see that we're live, but now it sees we're live. Bum 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 bum. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Ba da 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 da. Da 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 do. Do 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 do. Ba da 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 da. Do 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 do. Ba dum ba bum. Ba da 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 dum. Ba dum ba boom. Be dee 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 doo dee dee doo 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 doo. Dee 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 doo dee doo 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 doo. Ma da 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 da. Ma da 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 dee 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 dee. Dee 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 doo dee dee. Dee dee doo dee 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 dee. Dee 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 dee. Me dee 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 doo dee dee. Dee 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 doo dee doo. Bum 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 bum. Ba da doo 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 dee doo dee doo doo. Me dee 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 doo dee doo 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 doo. Ba da 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 doo doo. Ba da 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 da. Ba da 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 do 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 do. Bum ba da ba da ba. Ma da ba da do do do. Dee 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 dee. Ma da 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 do 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 do. Ba da 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 do 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 do. Na 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 do 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 do. Let's hashtag streaming myself editing some hashtag HFY stories. We have the finale of Memories of Creature 88 today, plus one chapter of Troublemakers and one short story. Hashtag VTuber, hashtag audiobooks, hashtag sci-fi. And copy over the YouTube link. Copy and paste. Copy and paste. Discord. Videos. Oh, shoot. I have not. Alright, good. No chats yet, unless we got one over on the YouTube side. That looks like a no. Good. Good. Let's Social Stream Ninja X, we can post. It's good. There you are. Activate Stabby Reads. Activate full. And we move HFY live because we need to copy over a new one. Out chat. Copy. Other. Okay. Activate. Hide capture. Get the dock. And drop you off over there so we don't need to worry. Good. Good. Why are you showing a black screen? Okay, you're just being weird. That works for me. Weird and delayed is fine, broken is not. Do we have anything else here to worry about? We're good. Good. It's good. Get rid of that. One less thing to worry about. You can go away. Is that? Is that? Lock. There we go. We can start getting some premium hours on the Rumble side. There's you out. Is that? Okay. Close that. I think we may finally be ready to start work. Shotcut. It's off Hubble. Samson. There we go. Take your sweet time. There we go. Now we actually have the screen I want to see. Alright. Shotgun Projects, Narration, Creature 88, and we're working on Creature 43 today. Creature 43. And immediately I messed up my avatar. That's fine. It can be the way it is. So... I may as well show off a little bit more of that wing. Why not? It's a little crazy big, but whatever. Yeah. Let's get to work. Narration, Hubble, audio. Creature 43. A effect. Normalize. Boop 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 boo. Export. Shots. Memories of Creature 88. Creature 43. Creature 43 M4A. There we are. How is everyone doing? Home renovations for me are finally almost done. Carpet guy will be in tomorrow, hopefully take care of everything that needs to be done. And then, yeah, we'll, I've still got 3 lights to hook up. And I gotta stain the fence. And a bunch of yard work and cutting 2 trees down. Yeah. It's gonna take a while, but hey. I got Wednesday off of work. I'm gonna be doing all the yard work because we got time off then. Yeah, that's that. Picture 43, we exported you. Back there and minimize. We can get to work. Memories of Creature 88, Creature 43, Creature 43. As they drove. Up and down, ripple delete, zoom out. Boom, boom, boom. There. It's the level of zoom we want. Rich, get some text, 1728. Grid lines. Charcoal background. Light gray foreground, full justify 30. And let's get to work. 11 pages. Better than 15. 15 took its sweet time. Let's call that a 600. Nope. That was a 550. As they drove on through the city, Vincent glanced up at the massive support. As they drove on through the darkened surface of the city. As they drove on through the darkened, Vincent glanced up at the massive support pylons every now and then. It was hard not to imagine the weight of the city on his shoulders at a time like this. Then, as he glanced over at his mother, he also had a slight moment of deja vu when he was trying to drive out of their own city back home. Only this time, he was on the side of the law. She also didn't look like the mother he knew. She looked like the mother he'd seen in the old pictures of her and Dad. Young, bright-eyed, like before all those worry lines had been worn into her face by his reckless lifestyle. Looking forward, he gripped the control stick a little tighter and focused. Where now? Where now? Can we fit 2 paragraphs? I would like to. Yes, we can. gotta bump you up to 750. Is A-okay?
Control stick. Where now? You should be on track. There should be some sort of observatory up ahead. They've been driving for around an hour now. Frey had sent word that Mock's forces were mopping up and would be on their way to his position shortly. It appeared the 5 Satyr he left behind in the stasis chamber had indeed saved the data Mock needed to show the Draconic Senate. So now, it was up to him to capture or kill their leader. Up to him and Bryan. And his mother. He shook his head again, trying to keep his mind on the matter at hand. But he hadn't seen his mother in a year. She hadn't paused for more than a moment once she got out of the chamber, before she made sure they focused on the threat at hand. Wasn't he supposed to get some time to catch up and revel in her return? As usual for him, it seemed life just kept moving on without concern. One of these days he'd finally get a vacation. Probably wouldn't have any idea what to do with himself. But that might be the point. However, after this filtered through his mind, something hit him. Something hit him.
Can we do that much? Got the possibility. Nice. Exact fit.
However, through his mind, something hit him. Observatory? We're under the fucking city. How can there be an observatory down here? I don't know. That's what this thing says. Observatory Bess. Bess? Vincent glanced over. B-E-S. He pronounced each letter specifically. I'm just reading the damn screen. All right. Vincent didn't push it, but he wondered.
Shit. Comma?
Right. And push it, but he wondered what that was about. However, he didn't have to wait very long, as the ground started to slope up a little. He hadn't paid any mind to the ridge when it was in the distance, but just as he crested the top,
Any mind to the ridge?
they were looking down into a massive pit lined with fences, giant floodlights, and some sort of facility down in the bottom. Builder excavation site.
He pieced together the letters now. Nice. I love it when we get a series of chapters of paragraphs that fit in the exact same text box.
The letters now. There was a road heading down from the lip of the ridge into the excavation site at the bottom, and as he shifted the hovercraft over to it, he saw the gate had been raised at the little gatehouse that would otherwise block the way. He slowed down as he approached, feeling uneasy about what was before him. But as he edged the vehicle forward, he saw inside the gatehouse was a dead Churfish, the beetle-like Xenos used for general security of many Union buildings. The deep claw marks across the guard's body made it clear the dragon had been through here. Vincent was a little confused. Was this not a warden operation? The dragon had come here for a reason, after all. Vincent would simply have to roll with it. He kept moving the vehicle down the road towards the buildings at the bottom of the pits. Or crater? He wasn't sure. As he came down to the edge of the main structures, he saw the other hovercraft, and more importantly, saw the bodies of 6, 7 Churfish strewn around the place. Some of them had been literally torn apart.
It was hard to get an exact number. I mean, if you rip somebody apart into a bunch of little pieces, it is hard to tell how many of them there are. Fit 3? Yes, we can. Even knock off 100. 650. So it was hard.
He parked the hovercraft next to the other and climbed out, grabbing his gun as he began to move up towards the building. There wasn't any resistance, and he didn't hear any alarms. Looking back, he saw Bryan and his mom get out of the vehicle, looking up at him questioningly. Well, Vincent looked up at the excavation building in front of them. The door was partially hanging off its hinges, and more bodies were inside. I guess we follow him in there. You guys stay back and let me take lead. If you're in danger, just get out of here. I'll come back. Neither of you will. We might not have the luxury of simply running away. If I have to choose between myself and everyone back home, you know what I'll choose. Vincent looked back at his mom as she said that,
arms crossed. You up to 700. Recenter.
Looked back at arms crossed. Mom, I thought I'd lost you when I woke up in the city. I lived alone for a year. It's been a month since I found out you were still alive, and I just rescued you. Don't you dare talk like that. I won't let it come to that kind of choice. I promise. And don't argue with me. Bryan, you stay back with her. Your rifle will do better from a distance anyway. Before either one could voice their concerns, they pressed on into the building. It seemed like there was another body or two, but then no more carnage after that. On either side of the hall he was walking down, you could see offices and labs filled with rocks, hunks of metal, and other such things. Lots of their data boards filled with various bits of research notes, and data that didn't mean anything to him. But no scientists. Everything was well lit, and aside from the dead bodies he stepped over, one might think the place was simply closed for the night, or that everyone was on vacation.
It felt strange. So close to hitting A, which is append, instead of S, which is split right there. That always freaks me out when I do.
As he kept moving, he found a stairwell, and as most Union stairwells are, it had nice and obvious directions on it. he kept moving, he found a stairwell. And as most Union stairwells are, it had nice and obvious directions on it. Upstairs was administration, so he could skip it. He began to look down the list until he saw the last one. Sublevel 2. Portal chamber and magma vein. Well, that sounded promising. He began moving down the stairwell then, noticing how still nothing seemed to be out of place. It wasn't until he reached the bottom that once more it was clear he was on the right path. There was a very secure-looking metal door and a sophisticated keypad on the wall next to it. The thing is, it wasn't too secure anymore, because something large, with claws, had forced the thing open. Vincent carefully stepped through the hole, gun up and ready, but he saw nothing in the old lava tunnel beyond. There were lots of floodlights set up through the cave, and he noticed a few to his left had been knocked over, so he started heading that way. A glance over his shoulder told him his mother and Bryan were following along still, but at a decent enough distance they wouldn't immediately worry about them. The further down the lava tunnel they went, the hotter things got, and Vincent was reminded that the sign had
Something about magma. I mean, magma is hot, so there is that. Oh. Yeah, we definitely will not fit that much in. Yeah, no. Single paragraph time. Let's make you, 500? Yes. Love it when I guess right.
And Vincent had said something about magma. Sure enough, as he rounded the final corner, he stepped out into a wide-open chamber, bathed in the red glow of molten magma bubbling in the center of the pit. The ceiling of the chamber was open, and he could see the belly of the city high above them. Around the magma pit were machines and stations of some kind, with what looked to be a control room dominating the far side of the pit. Suspended over the magma itself, hanging from very thin metal cables, was a sort of metal frame he supposed was the portal. It was big enough for a craft to fit, and there was a narrow walkway leading up to it as well, though he could see some sort of shimmering energy field beneath the walkway and the portal. Perhaps to protect it from the heat of the magma?
That's the plan. I'm going 750.
Perhaps the heat of the magma? Halfway between the walkway and the control room was the dragon standing over a number of those mycelinos and other scientists in white coats. Now that he had a better look at the dragon, he could see he was wearing some sort of dark gray metal armor that looked very advanced. Builder tech? Or just high-quality custom Union gear? He shifted his focus to the scientists. Most of them were sitting down with a few of those purple and green armored satyr standing behind them with rifles in hand. He counted just 3. Probably all that fit in the hovercraft with the dragon. Bryan and his mother soon caught up as he stayed low in the mouth of the cave. What's the plan? I'm going to get as close as possible without being seen. Get your rifle ready. I'll kill the satyr closest to us. If you get the one further away, then we'll see who gets...
One further away.
See who gets the one in the middle. What about the dragon?
$700. Shift
One in
down.
the middle.
Let's go.
Dragon. Satyr first. They've got ranged weapons. See if you can get the scientists out while I take them on. He nodded to Bryan, who nodded in turn, and then moved quickly to the nearest workstation.
See if you can get this.
I take him on. He nodded to Bryan, who nodded in turn, and then moved quickly to the nearest workstation. Glancing around the corner, you could see the satyr were more concerned with their prisoners, but now that he was closer, he could make out what the dragon was saying to the cowering mouse before him. You've had months to get this operational again! Months! It's been difficult to not let on to the other researchers that I know it was operational. Most of them were simply focused on the observatory upstairs and thought this was simply a power generator. I don't care for your excuses! The dragon growled out, as the mouse gulped heavily.
I'm ready to pass out.
Look!
Ready to pass out.
Look!
I'm out.
Look! I just need a little bit more time. We aren't sure if the magma really is the power source, or just a quick means for destroying the portal in an emergency. Once your kind deactivated the portal... My kin? The dragon roared. I have no kin. I am unique and alone. Those fools created me, and then faltered when their goal was within reach. If they'd simply gone with my plan, I wouldn't have needed to use those warden fools to seize this facility for the fucking Union. and the Yurvesh would not have been the ones to obtain the shade. No, I have no kin. The dragon seethed, clearly enraged, but Vincent was wondering what he was talking about. The worms? Was he a worm? Those things Vincent had seen moving under his scales. Was that a dragon's body infested with parasites? When the dragon turned his back for a moment, Vincent rushed forward and ducked behind the next machine, getting even closer to the satyr and the prisoners. Can you make it work? Can you make it work?
Boom.
Prisoners. Can you make it work? Maybe. It's weak. Maybe. What are the odds, Doctor? 50-50. The mouse hesitantly said, shrugging after. It's hard to say, since we don't have full authorization anymore to the systems. There's programmed to only be unlocked by builders, we think. There's a chance it will lock up after the next use, though. We just need more time. Well, you don't have more time, the dragon yelled, as he turned on the mouse, who cowered before the massive winged Xeno. But the dragon slowly relaxed. One time is all I need. I won't be coming back. Get it working, he said, and the mouse ran towards the control room, as three others moved to follow. When the dragon started to walk after them, Vincent jumped down and opened fire, shooting the nearest satyr in the back with rounds.
Right. 7 pages, 7 pages. Decent progress. 2, those look too big. No, I guess I can push a little. At 8:30, that'll be fine. Small exception.
Nearest satyr rounds. The satyr furthest was turning, but Vincent heard the crack of the rifle, as the satyr's head snapped back and he fell to the ground. The one in the middle was turning and raising his weapon, but Vincent cut him down with several rounds. Satyr's head snapped round. The one in the middle was turning and raising his weapon, but Vincent cut him down with several rounds as well. Just after the fire began, the scientist screamed and rose up, running headlong away from the dragon as they poured through the tunnel leading back to the main building. Vincent swung his weapon towards the dragon, but to his surprise, the massive creature was rushing him. He barely squeezed the trigger before getting knocked back onto his ass. He slid across the ground away, dropping his gun as he did. There was a sharp pain in his right arm as he felt his elbow jar against the ground, and he groaned, rolling over a bit before he saw the dragon stomping closer. Ignoring his pain, he scrambled to his feet and drew his magnum, but the dragon was too fast, smacking that from his hand as well, and then knocking him back to the ground. When the dragon's massive clawed foot pressed down on his chest, Vincent wheezed out, feeling his ribs creak and crack a little with the stress. Should we keep working? The pressure eased up as the dragon looked to the mice in the control room.
Call that 600? No, 550.
The pressure eased up the mice at the control room. Yes, keep working! I'm just going to have a little conversation with the shade here, since he failed to stop me. The dragon hadn't realized that Bryan had shot one of the satyr. He still had a chance, but he'd have to get the dragon to remove that helmet. Gotta keep him talking. However, even as Vincent tried to think, the dragon looked down. I'm going to kill you, violently and painfully. But I want you to truly understand your defeat. Once they pull your black box out of what remains of your skull, I'm going through that portal once it's activated. And I'm going to use your kind to destroy the Union you've been trying to protect. What? Vincent still couldn't figure out what the hell his plan was. It didn't make any sense. They've looked for my home. Couldn't find it.
Now I got an earbug in my head. Is this the best you've got? Is this your strongest machine? The fight my brother fought here now will end with me. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Ba-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Looked for my home. Couldn't find it. There to the path the worms are going, never bothering to check regions of space far beyond their grasp. The answer was right here in this observatory. To think the builders would leave behind such a device. They scan the skies, seeing what cannot be seen through the city above, and are confused when that's not the sky it should be. Don't they understand they're not looking through mere space? They're looking through space and time together. How else could the builders map the galaxy so quickly? We toy with physics and think to master the rules, but they tore the rules apart and rebuilt them as they saw fit. I admire them as much as I despise them. Vincent was panting hard just to breathe with the pressure on his chest, but he needed to know more. Why do you worms hate? He had to stop there and gasp out as the dragon pushed down harder on his chest, and he definitely felt something crack in his ribs.
6. We're gonna have to... Those two? Up to 750.
Definitely hard in his ribs. I am not a worm! They might have made me, but they turn on me for my ideas! They feel anything to do with the builders is tainted. They aren't willing to adapt to achieve their goals. They're as useless as the Union! Vincent was fairly confused, but the lightheadedness didn't help. The dragon seemed to sense this and continued. You're confused. You didn't know, did you? We are all touched by the builders. Every species in the Union, and the worms as well. Once the worms realized this, they sought to destroy every trace of the builders and their pathetic slaves. To free themselves of their past, they seek to destroy all connection to the builders, and the Union seeks to follow their task like good slaves, so the worms hate them for it. What they don't realize is their hatred enslaves them as well. When I found your home, oh, the dirty little secret the builders left behind in another arm of our spiral, I knew your species was the answer. They'd tear the Union apart from inside, or out, and they will. Why? Out. Will. Why? Vincent gasped. Because I've seen your history! Since I can control the Union and bring you in willingly, I'll travel there and unite your people. I'll tell them of the evil Union and their omnipotent AI. The truth won't matter, as I'll tailor the facts I bring. The dragon then tapped his head. I carry all the secrets of Union, Worm, and Builder alike to help them build the ships needed to reach out this far in centuries, instead of the countless eons it would take otherwise. I don't know how far away your home is, but with Builder tech and your species' ability to adapt, I'm sure it won't be long before they make contact. The Union will adhere to the teachings of the Builders and fight back. Neither side will realize they're being played until it's too late. I've seen what your kind has done to itself. How long before your Vesh, Satyr, and Vernek are rounded up into camps? Vincent's blood ran cold as he heard that.
See, fit everything. 70. 768. Perfect. We'll just fit into 800.
Rounded up into... Vincent's blood ran cold as he heard that. Yes, I've seen your dirty history. What's the term for it? Ethnic cleansing. The dragon seemed to whisper the word, as if it were pleasurable for him to even utter. There are those who won't resort to that. We're changing. We're united now. We won't be tricked again. The dragon laughed at that. That tattoo on your arm is all the proof I need that there are some who will never buy into peace. Some who only need the most basic of pretense to unleash the monster within them. I don't need all of your people to agree with me. Just enough. I'll have hundreds of years to make sure the war is inevitable, to ensure that those good, caring people you refer to aren't in power. I told the worms of my plans, but while they understood your potential, they refused to use it. They feared you were tainted by the builders, just like everyone else. The language, the legends, and myths. Fools! They should have seen the legends of the dragons as a blessing. When I show up, how easy it will be to connect myself to those in power. Now then, do you have any last words?
$600. Huh. 1 second, we got some notifications. What do we got? You can do it! Yes. Appreciate the words of support on Discord. Close that. Off Hubble. Oh, whoops.
have any last words? Fight me, gasped Vincent. The dragon paused. What? Let me up and fight me, you coward. The dragon laughed at that and pulled his foot off of Vincent. Vincent gasped heavily and coughed as he could feel the pain in his ribs and lungs. You still won't give up. You don't know me very well. Vincent coughed again and started to push himself up to his feet. Loose the armor. Make this
Wise guy. 43, boom. Yeah, we won't fit. We won't fit that massive thing in here. Yeah, that's 1,000 by itself. Yeah, we're taking one pair. To 400. Hey, we lost the wings.
lose the arm. Make this fair. Fair! The dragon laughed again, but then reached down to detach. The dragon laughed again, but then reached down to detach the metal leggings, letting them drop free. The chest piece came after it, and Vincent could more clearly see those pulsing, moving parasites beneath the dragon's scales. Next were the arms, which had detached one at a time. He was wearing a gray suit beneath the armor, which looked immaculate still. Finally, he reached up and twisted the helmet, pulling it up and off his head before dropping it to the ground. There! Now then, you puny little wretch, are you ready for a fair fight? The dragon's grin was full of sharp teeth.
Lots and lots of sharp teeth. Oh, boom. 600. Go.
And lots of sharp teeth. Yeah, I wasn't honestly planning on fighting fair, Vincent said, just before he heard the crack of the rifle. The bullet hit the dragon in the head just above his right eye, but while it tore away a chunk of flesh, it failed to penetrate the skull. The dragon bellowed in pain. Part of the skull was exposed along the eye, which was dangling from the optic nerve. Vincent pulled his knife free as Bryan fired again, hitting the dragon in the head once more, and tearing away another chunk of flesh to reveal more skull. Vincent tried to lunge forward and drive the knife into the dragon's heart, but he knocked Vincent back against one of the machines at the edge of the magma pit. Vincent slammed against it, hard, the knife having been knocked clear of his hand. He groaned and slumped down as the dragon closed up his wings, protecting himself from the next 3 shots, which blew holes in the leathery wings, but not
anything significant.
from the next 3 blew holes in the leathery wings, but not doing anything significant. You will burn for this shade! He yanked Vincent up to his feet over the edge of the magma pit, but before he could toss Vincent in, there were footsteps, and the dragon cried out in surprise as Vincent's mother leaped up onto the dragon's back. She picked up Vincent's knife on the way and drove it into the dragon's throat. He let out a scream of pain, but it was also a gurgle as the blood began to run free of the wound. Turning to try and shake her free, the dragon tossed Vincent aside, slamming him into a workstation, which he tumbled over heavily. Catherine, meanwhile, kept driving the blade in and out of the dragon's neck, holding on tight with her legs and free hand. Vincent pulled himself up over the workstation in time to watch the dragon drop to his knees, with an incredible amount of blood running out of his neck, coating the front of his once gray suit.
Alright, down to 4. I'd take you 650, realign, boom.
Out of his neck of his once gray suit. Vincent watched his mother let go of the dragon's back, and then kick the body forward, letting it fall into the pit of magma below. Vincent heard the heavy body hit the magma after a few seconds, and then the steam and hiss as the incredible heat began to immolate the abomination. She then turned and rushed over to Vincent, tossing the knife down. Vincent noticed the blade stuck into the ground easily, even with a simple toss. She clutched his side, partially hugging him, partially supporting him. As he groaned, she spoke. Are you okay? No, Mom. I'm really not. But I'll live, I think. Some of his ribs were broken. He was sure of that. As he tried to lift his right arm, he noticed the bone jutting out of his elbow and stopped. With his mother's help, he staggered over to his magnum, before he started moving towards the control room. The mice were inside, very nervously looking at him.
In his left hand. You get it working. Alright, down to 3 pages.
Nervously looking in his left hand. You get it working. The one he'd seen talking to the dragon before stepped up. Yes, no, we're ready, but we don't know if this will lock out the portal or not. I don't care. You said something about a self-destruct mechanism or something. Yes. We've identified a control that would disable the heat shielding and drop the controller into the portal into the magma. Or we suspect that this will happen. What's the button? Vincent asked, only to see the mouse point to a large red button, bordered by red and yellow caution tape. The button said, emergency destruct. So much for some ancient and cryptic builder language. Do you know how this machine works?
And we fit 3. Yes. 750. Good.
Cryptic builder. Do you know how this machine works? No, I really don't. I barely understand how to power it or how to make it work. The worms knew more, but they were killed. And Dr. Naffis, who knew more than I did, got thrown into the magma before he got here. Vincent studied the worried mouse's face and nodded. Zeno was telling the truth. Turn it on, then get out of here. The mice turned back to the control panel, activating a number of buttons and switches before the metal frame in the center of the magma pit flickered to life. Instead of a clear frame, you can now see something. A planet? Earth? Home? Vincent started crying as he saw it, and felt his mom squeeze his shoulder. But in another flash, the image was replaced with one of a forest of some kind. It's on land. That's all we can really aim for, the mouse said. Vincent nodded and jerked his head to the exit, before the mice rushed past for the tunnel Bryan was walking out of. Vincent felt his mom tug on him then.
Alright, this one will take us down to 2 pages. 2700. Boom, boom, boom.
Was walking out and felt his mom tug on him then. Let's get out of here. He looked at her, seeing the pleading look in her eyes. He wanted to go with her. He really did. I can't. We aren't sure if it's really one shot or not. What if it still works? The dragon was right, you know. If we get into the Union, we'll destroy it sooner or later. They have no idea how to cope with us. After several thousand years, we've only just started coping with ourselves. It will take only a small handful to ruin this nation. Maybe there's a way for us to deactivate it, she asked. There was some sort of scanner on the console, and she walked up to it, pressing her hand on it for a moment. For a moment, Vincent hoped that maybe humans were the builders. Maybe he'd had it all wrong. Maybe the machine would unlock completely for them.
Machine would unlock completely for them. Down to 2. I can see the end. The end is near. $100.
Had it all wrong. It would unlock completely for them. Unknown user. Access denied. Came a mechanical voice from the console. Vincent's shoulders slumped. When she turned to him, he could see the tears in her eyes. Don't. He preempted her. We'll both start crying too much to do anything. He was crying even as he said that, and she hugged him close, tears in her eyes. He couldn't help but gasp in pain as she squeezed him, but he didn't
Stop, despite his broken.
She pulled back and looked up into his eyes. I'm sorry, Vincent. Don't be.
Gotta get you to 830, it seems.
He pulled back and looked up. I'm sorry, Vincent. Don't be. He lifted his broken right arm and stroked her cheek. You look young enough to be my sister now. Go, start a new life. Have lots of new kids. Make sure they stay in school. If Bryan can't sail, then it's up to you to teach them. Besides, if it doesn't get locked out, maybe I'll find a way to delay the self-destruct. If it doesn't get locked out, maybe I'll find a way to delay the self-destruct and run out there and join you. Okay? She smiled and hugged him tight for another second.
$500. At least that got me my wings back.
Okay. He smiled and hugged him tight for another second. I'll see you at home then. Promise? Promise, he whispered, clutching her tight with his good arm, eyes closed. Then she finally let go and ran out of the control room, down the ramp, then around the pit. Bryan was waiting at the main catwalk, then waved at Vincent, who waved back with his magnum in his left hand. He watched them embrace and kiss. Then he watched them run up the catwalk, into the portal, and then that was it. They were gone. He didn't even see a ripple. He looked over the console for some sort of sign that it was locked out now, like the mouse had thought. But he didn't see anything. In fact, he saw a small display near the top of the control console. Active. Fuck.
$700.
He didn't see anything. In fact, he saw a small display near the top of the control console. Active. Fuck. He began to look around then. Maybe there was some way to rig a device to get the self-destruct thing as he ran to the portal. Everything in the control room was bolted down. The workstations might have something. All that science gear. He felt a little hopeful, just before he heard people moving down the tunnel and his hope fled. He saw Mach, the golden armor gleaming bright in the red glow of the magma. Vincent sighed heavily and gave a wave. Then Mach jogged around the pit while the satyrs spread out. Vincent held up his magnum once Mach got to the edge of the ramp leading up to the control room. That's close enough, Mach. This is how they did it, isn't it? How they got to your planet? It is. That's a forest on your home. Your mother and Bryan. Now home. Your mother and Bryan? They went through. Vincent nodded. The wardens? Their boss, you mean? Vincent tilted his head at the magma pit. Mark took a step forward onto the ramp, but Vincent's hand moved to the big red button. The warden? Their boss, you mean? Vincent tilted his head at the magma pit. Mark took a step forward onto the ramp, but Vincent's hand moved to the big red button. That's far enough, Mark. He repeated. What? You can't be serious, Vincent. We can't join the Union. You're not ready for us. Maybe when you find us naturally, but not now. Don't be an idiot, Vincent. This is a sacrifice you don't have to make. And what are you hoping to do with that? You think those little bullets will stop me? Vincent looked at the magnum.
$600. Boom.
You think those stop me? Vincent looked at the magnum. You have a point. He pulled his arm back and tossed the gun out at the dragon. Mark backed off the ramp, onto the solid ground in order to catch it, which was when Vincent pushed the button. He heard the alarms go off immediately, and saw the portal flicker and then fade. The shielding was gone as he felt an unbelievable wave of heat reach up and start cooking him. Wait, Mark, toss me a weapon, please! Burning is the worst way to die! The dragon watched the cables connected to the portal and the catwalk detach, as they dropped into the magma. There was a moment of hesitation, before Mark held out his hand, and a satyr quickly ran up, handing him a Tybar can. The dragon reached back and tossed it forward into the control room, just as it lurched, some of the cables snapping.
And there is the end of the chapter.
Into the controls as it lurched, some of the cables snapping. Vincent had to hold on as the whole room shifted, tilting down now instead of being flat. The window that had been overlooking the portal now looking down into the magma below. The gun slid across the floor, and Vincent leaned down to pick it up. After grabbing the weapon and standing up, he staggered, and gripped the console with his broken arm, feeling the room settle and shift, leveling out a bit as the cables in the back gave way. He saw the dragon standing at the edge of the pit, watching the magma begin to consume the portal. Soon, the last support would fail, and the control room would fall completely with Vincent inside. Thank you, Mark. You're a very good friend. I am sorry. Really, I am. But I know us better than you do. Some of us are angels, and some are demons, and you won't know the difference until it's too late. Vincent smiled and pulled his mask free with his broken right arm. Then he tilted his head up, jammed the barrel of the weapon up under his chin. Then, he waited to feel the last of the supports break off from...
Tilted his head up.
The weapon up under his chin. Then, he waited to feel the last of the supports break off from the wall of the pit, his body lifting up in a moment of freefall, before he pulled the trigger.
You? Boom! Ha-ha! Save, export, narrations, memories of creature 88, creature 43, creature 43.mp4. Oh. Save you. Let's make a new one and continue right on. Narration. Troublemakers. Troublemakers 084. Start. Level. Now 43. Save and close. Save and close. Good. That's less stuff taking up space. Troublemakers. Effect. Normalize. Okay. Sport. Makers. Troublemakers. Troublemakers. Wait for Secunda Catena Rumpitur. Don't even know what that's supposed to mean. It's Speed those fans up. Get a little more heat getting wicked away. Yeah, whatever. Later. In the 80s, 70s. Bad. Running almost maxed out. 0.6 gigs. Yeah, we're using that power. Slowly getting warmer, but hopefully it'll stay right there in that 70 to 73 range. 2 or 3 or 1. Jumping a little high into the 80s. But that's fine. Troublemakers will close you. Add an audio tab. Troublemakers. Wait. Out. And remove. Boom. Okay. There we are. I'm more needed. Rich. Oh, that's why we have 2 copies. Just so that sort of stupidity of me fat fingering colors doesn't happen. It's happened more than once. Or Troublemakers 84. 9 pages only. Shouldn't be too hard. Copy. Paste. Oh. I gotta get you to 1728. You gotta get centered again. And probably take it down to 700. Yes.
A figure across the rooftops, cloak shifting with the shadows to conceal them. Cold rain pelted their face as they threw a grappling hook up a high wall. The winch at their waist hauling them up with a whir as they ran up the wall. A crash of thunder and a blinding white flash made Kaz pause as she unhooked her grapple, looking behind her just in time to see the outline of the lightning bolt fade. It had struck near home base, almost impossibly close for her liking, but the boys would have to deal with it. Then, as she was preparing to move again, another sound reached her keen ears over the pouring rain. A roar, high-pitched, bestial, and nasally echoed over Golgotha. It carried with it a sense of ancient pride and indignation, of sorrow and rage. The sound chilled her to the bone as it did all who heard it. Kaz looked nervously back towards home, before shaking her head and sprinting off, leaping over a 4-foot gap between buildings, then rolling, a railgun in hand, and get damaged.
That should be a 500. Yes, it is. 4-foot gap.
Then rolling, a railgun in hand so it didn't get damaged. She didn't have time to speculate what that sound was. The rain would wash away any hope of finding a blood trail if she didn't hurry. She continued forward, less than a block away now as she vaulted a low rooftop wall and onto the adjacent building, her cloak's shifting patterns and textures disguising her against the night sky as she rushed towards the battlefield, her heart beating in her throat as she finally reached the tall, multi-story building she'd perched on that morning. A death throw of her grappling hook, and she was sprinting up the wall and crossing the roof. Crouching down low, she propped the barrel of a railgun on the edge of the short roof wall and peered through her.
No idea what that weirdness was, but there we go. Shoot 600. Center, thank you.
She propped the barrel to the short roof wall and peered through her optic. Floodlights had been set up overlooking the corpse-strewn street. Humans, chained together at the neck and wearing nothing but thin undergarments, worked laboriously to clear away the bodies, while what she could only assume were Geckotian engineers examined the hulking bipedal machine that had its cockpit blown open. She slowly panned across the street, thumb and middle finger wrapping around the stubby pistol grip that accommodated her missing ring and pinky fingers. Only a few mercs patrolled the streets, clearly on alert. floodlights had been the hulking and had its cockpit blown open. She slowly panned across the street, thumb and middle finger wrapping around the stubby pistol grip that accommodated her missing ring and pinky fingers. Thumb and middle finger wrapping around the stubby pistol grip that accommodated her missing ring and pinky finger. Only a few mercs patrolled the streets, clearly on high alert. Luckily, their helmets stopped them from looking all the way up. Her blood ran cold as she finally found a place where Drake and the cyborg swordsman had fought. The cyborg was dead, head a good 20 feet away from the neck it should have been attached to, but that wasn't what chilled the blood in her veins.
I think we can fit 3 here. Yes, we can. 700.
Neck it should have been, but that wasn't what chilled the blood in her veins. Drake's sword, still covered in a purplish red fluid, lay on the ground a few feet from the cyborg's head. A high-ranking merc, evident by the insignia on his breastplate, stood next to it in a heated conversation with someone on the other side of his helmet comms. Using her free hand, she pulled an earbud from the stock of her rifle.
Side of his helmet comms. Using her free hand, she pulled an earbud from the stock
and slipped it in her ear before activating the parabolic microphone, built into her railgun just beneath the barrel. Put some kind of ward on this thing. 3 of my men have tried picking it up, only to die. What do you mean, how did they die? The moment they touched the sword, they just keeled over, cold and stiff, like they'd been there for days. I don't. The merc paused, pacing back and forth irritatedly, as whoever they were speaking with cut them off. Kaz couldn't hear who was on the other end, but whatever they said seemed to piss off
to no end. Nope. Let's do 2. To 600, good. Center. There. Who was on the other end?
Whatever they said seemed to piss off the merc to no end. What do you mean do it myself? I'm not a priest of a mother conquest. I can't ward a champion's item. I don't even have a blessing. Wait, what if I had one of the parasites try it? No, not the ward. Picking up the sword. I can give it a try. Thank you, I will. The merc sighed exasperatedly, before violently gesturing one of his men to bring a human over. Kaz's stomach turned as she watched a young boy, even younger than Drake, yet forcefully separated from the rest and brought over. The boy shivered as he was dragged in front of the sword in order to pick it up. The boy hesitated, and the lower-ranking merc drew their blaster pistol and pressed it against the boy's head. The boy looked like he was crying as he slowly wrapped a hand around the long handle of Drake's sword. $700, boom. You against the boy's head. It looked like he was crying as he slowly wrapped a hand around the long handle of Drake's sword. Dark veins immediately shot up the boy's arm, and his head shot back, staring into the sky with empty eyes and open mouth. A long, horrible, rattling breath was drawn in by the boy. Then they spoke, their voice an overlapping amalgamation of hundreds, if not thousands, of anguished screams and terrified sobbing as those empty eyes locked onto the higher-ranking merc. Your days are numbered! No peace! No safety! The lower-ranking merc reflexively pulled the trigger on their blaster pistol, a metallic slug splattering the boy's brains on the pavement as blood poured from their mouth. But it didn't stop that terrifying voice that chilled her to the soul. 4th horseman knows your names! Only 4 chains remain! Running is futile! All will be put to the sword! Mari! Mari! Mari!
Oh. I just had a bad pun. You know what? Since no one's in the chat right now, I'm just gonna hubble that. Discord. See, how would I structure the joke? Have you heard about Yes, there we go. I would tell you the story Old Man Morris. Did I ever tell you the story of Old Man Morris? He was an eccentric old man, very vain. He had lots of pictures and statues of himself made. When he finally passed, he requested that his ashes be processed into an artificial diamond, and the diamond cut to resemble his face, and then given as a memento to the only other person he cared about. The diamond was a memento mori. uh Video finished rendering, and temperatures wonderfully jumped back down. Yay! We're obviously still doing 2 live. Yeah. Actually, just one. One live render. Rumble's showing exactly what I'm tossing off to, yeah. Everywhere. All right. Just had to share the joke. Maury! Maury! 100 perfect.
Maury! The black veins disappeared, just as fast as they'd appeared, and the boy keeled over, with a long, rattling exhalation of black smoke. Both mercs quickly backed away from the inky puddle that wasn't affected by rain or wind. The boy's body slowly sinking into it as a white, wooden cross rose from the ground before the smoke disappeared entirely. Kaz's heart beat in her ears, the voice bringing with it a feeling of rage so potent it rivaled nuclear fire. The lower-ranking merc went to put their blaster pistol back in its holster, when their hand simply fell off with a splat as it hit the ground. The merc didn't even get to scream as they simply fell apart at the joints, purple blood pooling beneath the pile of meat as the high-ranking merc quickly backed away, visibly shaking as they quickly tapped the side of their helmet. Did you see that? No, what kind of fucking monster is this guy? If his sword alone is this powerful. What do you mean you've got a bird's eye view? Wait, we're being watched?
Do you call that a 650? Yes.
View. Wait, we're being... Kaz's blood ran cold, and before she could spin around, an armored forearm wrapped around her throat, a cold, feminine voice huskily whispering into her ear. Nighty-night, Sabrina. I'm going to have fun with you. A needle was jabbed into her neck, and she blacked out, railgun clattering pitifully to the rooftop gravel. Ramon grinned as her prey went limp in her arms, licking her lips in anticipation as she bound and gagged the Markswoman with her own grapple cord. They would make an exquisite addition to her collection.
Then Troublemakers narration. Page 4. Perfect. Slay. They would make an exquisite addition to her collection. Oh yeah, no. That thing is gaining down to -10. See how that works. Addition to her collection. Ice cold water doused Drake away. Ice cold water doused Drake away. That works. $768. That's an 800.
An exquisite collection. Ice cold water doused Drake awake, making him splutter and cough as he inhaled some with a surprised gasp. Drummond grinned wickedly as he set a metal bucket on the ground. Drake looked around him. They weren't in the same room as before. A large black view screen was just behind the mercenary leader, one that he confidently stepped away from, while humming jovially to himself. Drake caught a look at himself. Someone had washed the blood from his face, forearm, and chest. The wounds were covered with pristine white bandages that smelled strongly of some kind of disinfectant. Drake glared at the mercenary leader as he clenched and unclenched his fists. What's all this for? Needed a change of scenery, you scaled fuck? Drummond laughed as he calmly sauntered to the doorway and let it swoosh open. His sister, still in combat gear, stood on the other side with the...
Is that the frequent flyer? Yes, it is. Oh. Yep, frequent flyers at it again. Alright, let's get back to it.
And let it swoop. His sister, still in combat gear, stood on the other side with the brightest predatory smile he'd ever seen. They calmly swapped places, and the door whooshed closed. The female Gecknotion quickly straddled him, with a lascivious grin.
Drake snarled. Hey, more than halfway. Good. Yes. Let 4 lines take it down to 600. Yes, good. We got it.
Quickly straddled. Lascivious grin. Drake snarled. Get the fuck off of me. You smell like a grox and aren't even half as attractive. She snorted in response, laying back with foul hurt on her face as she placed a hand against her breastplate dramatically. Oh, you wound me. That's no way to talk to a lady. Wound me. No way to talk to a lady. Drake scoffed, but she leaned in, a cold hand sliding down his stomach and onto his groin, making him shudder in disgust as she leaned in to whisper. His skin crawled as she touched him. Especially not when she has you in this position. After all, I have.
Right. Paste. Boom. 720. Bring that up to 750.
I have. Drake slammed his head forward as hard as he could, cracking his forehead so hard against her snout that stars popped in front of his eyes, and she jerked back, falling from the chair and clutching her now bleeding nostrils. Drake snorted humorlessly as she slowly got back to her feet, facing away from him. I told you, get off of me, and I hate repeating myself. Manky lizard. She didn't respond immediately, as she slowly balled up a few pieces of gauze from a waist pouch and stuffed them in her nostrils. Slowly turning back around, he noted that he'd finally wiped that stupid grin off her face. There was fury in her eyes as she swiped the blood from her mouth with a silent snarl. Slowly, she tapped a couple of buttons on her forearm, growling. You'll come to regret that, you beast. And here I was about to go easy on you. Hope you like watching your little girlfriend die.
Paste. Yeah, 600.
Hope you little girlfriend die. Ice chilled his veins as his heart sank into his gut, bravado disappearing like snow under the spring sun. No, they wouldn't. He was cut off with a vicious slap as the female Gecnosian snarled. Shut up, boy. I'm going to enjoy this. And before he could even respond, she marched out of the room, leaving him staring at the dark screen ahead of him. His heart beat like a drum as he stared at the screen, with worry etched into his face. Then, the screen sparked to life. Sparked to life.
Hundred. 700. There we are. That's what we wanted.
Face. The screen sparked to life. It showed Kaz, stripped down to nothing but a cotton shirt and her underpants, tied to a chair with pencil-thin cords that dug into her arms. She slowly looked up, foggy eyes clearing as she seemed to look straight into his eyes. She gave him a weak smile. There you are. Knew I'd find you. Didn't expect it to be like this, though. Drake's eyes stung as he softly whispered. Kaz, what are you? Why are you? He slowly hung his head. You shouldn't have come looking for me. They're going to.
Alright, 3 pages left. Hundred. Perfect. Perfect.
I've come looking. They're going to. She cut him off with a laugh. A cold, humorless, resigned laugh. I know exactly what they're going to do to me, Drake. This isn't the first time, you know. He looked back up, speechless. Kaz smiled gently at him, but he could tell it was an act. There was fear in her eyes, in the way they constantly flicked away from the screen. She was trying to be brave, for him. He didn't understand. Why? If you knew this could happen again, why'd you try to find me? Why'd you try to find me? Kaz shrugged as best she could, the sound of a door whooshing open coming from her end as she spoke. Because, well, a mother would do anything to make sure her boys are safe, wouldn't she? Do anything to make safe, wouldn't she? Before Drake could respond, a nasally feminine voice interjected. Very touching, you two. Not that it matters. Gomon's sister sauntered into the frame, a large pair of shears in hand as she slowly stepped around the back of Kaz's chair, fear filling Kaz's eyes as she put on a brave face. The female Gecnosian grinned as she caressed Kaz's cheek, a grateful grin forming on her face. Drake's rage flared as he shouted, Get your dirty fucking paws off her! Do as you wish to me, but leave her alone, you bitch! He strained against the metal holding him in place, packing soul power into his limbs, but only getting slight creaks from the metal bonds, and drawing a mirthful laugh from the general's sister. The female gecko giggled as she slowly gripped the shears like a dagger.
Boom.
Female gecko gripped the shears like a dagger. Oh, I will, but only after I'm done with her. The general's sister raised the shears over her head and leaned forward, a maniacal glint in her eyes. Try not to blink. The shears swung down impossibly fast, the blade piercing Kaz's stomach just above her navel, and drawing out a scream of pain as her mask of bravery was broken. She sobbed and screamed as the shears were twisted and pulled away. The female Gecnosian said something that Drake couldn't hear over the cacophony of screams rising in his ears. The fear and pain on Kaz's face burned into his vision as Gomon's sister slowly sauntered around the chair, digging the shears into Kaz's face and beginning to slowly pull them down, tearing the flesh and skin like paper as Kaz whimpered in pain, eyes glowing distant. Snap! Snap! eyes glowing distant. Snap! Snap! Eyes glowing. Snap! A pair of
Can we get that much in? I don't think we can. Nope. Too much. Gotta stop at 450.
Snap! A pair of Gagnotions stood guard on either side of the mansion's main door. The ground beneath their feet rumbled slightly confusedly. Now, what's going on down there? The left guard asked curiously. The guard on the right didn't respond, looking over the left guard's shoulder with an expression of pure terror. What? Is there something on my face?
$650.
What? On my face? A pair of wide jaws flashed down, razor-sharp teeth tearing the left guard's head off in a flash of light. The right guard fell back onto their rear, dropping their turboplas rifle and trying to crawl away from the abomination that stared at him with tawny, golden eyes. Its coat of feathers and ashen, pale purple with flecks of gold. It was thin, almost emaciated. Its mouth dripping thick, clear saliva as it crushed the head in its mouth between its jaws, spattering the guard's face with blood and brain matter. It swallowed noisily and growled, not moving an inch as it stared into his eyes. It was massive, almost 20 feet long and 9 feet tall from its snout to the ground. Good boy, the Gagnotion whimpered.
$50.
Good boy, the Gagnotion whimpered. He didn't get the luxury of screaming before a 9.5-inch claw tore his throat open. Barney ignored the future corpse as he slammed his head into the wooden doors, bursting them open much to the shock and terror of the small group of armed Gagnotions beyond. He let out a roar of fury as the Gagnotions quickly turned tail and fled back into the mansion. They wouldn't make it very far.
And remove. Are save, export, Troublemakers, Troublemakers 84, Troublemakers 84. Yay! Oh! Oh, we got some notifications. Let's see who's talking. go. Back to here we go. Hubble we can close. Save. And let's get a new. Nah, let's do a little bit of cleanup first. Troublemakers. Are. Save and close. And Troublemakers. Got you bumped up. Save and close. Oh, that's a couple more windows less we need to worry about. Alright, next on the list we have Chaos Doctrine by Alone Doughnut. Troublemakers, Alone Doughnut. Chaos Doctrine. Start, open, Narrations, Hubble small, boom. Oh, there we go, actually hit you this time. Chaos Doctrine, plug it in, delete. Delete, save. Select, normalize. Export. One shot. Alone Doughnut. Chaos Doctrine. M4A. Goes. And we can minimize you. One shot. Alone Doughnut. Chaos Doctrine. Chaos Doctrine. Zoom. Expand. Seconds. And there we go. Which 1728. Center. Background. Gray. Justify. 30. Alright. Chaos Doctrine. Let's go. Undershot. It's fine.
Error Lord. On the outer edge of the Goldilocks zone with a red star. Hot enough that water remained unfrozen, especially on a planet which had a surface of 93% water, but not so hot that anywhere with land could be considered tropical. The native fish species were barely edible, and the fauna were worse. Only volcanic chains of islands spoke above the surface, and those were constantly battered and eroded by the ceaseless storms, and smashed upon by errant icebergs. Most wouldn't consider it hospitable for prisoners, let alone children. The Daiko, on the other hand, had seen fit to turn it into a military academy. Close to the equator, where it wasn't as cold, the oligarchs had seen fit to build on a set of islands, and the best and brightest minds of the upper houses would go to learn to be the commanders they were born to be.
$650.
Would be the commanders they were born to be. Naval tactician Zarion hated Aralorn more than any other posting, a testimony to his time spent there. You did not want to stay on that water-soaked rock, but to leave you had to prove you were worthy. If you were truly worthy, they would eventually send you back to teach there. His classroom was full of cadets, themselves children of upper houses, who sought their own glory in the empire. The oligarchy of Daiko was, after all, an empire with 3 emperors of a different name. Fleet Tactics was the class of the semester, focusing on how to use tactics of other races to overcome those races. It was a few weeks into the training, and the students were tiring this class. After all, in close quarters, they trained to learn how to use dagger and fist. In marksmanship, they shot, and in galactic affairs, they debated. But Fleet Tactics? In this class, they merely read. And not from tablets, but from printed materials and books, some of which were as old as the founding of this facility.
And wanted adventure. Children want either adventure, or they yearn for the mines. Now get the temperature back down to the 50s. Huh. And mammalian conflict. Blooded foes is italic. Nothing else is. 650.
Children. His digipen met the board, and he wrote the lesson on the day. Mammalian conflict, dealing with warm-blooded foes. Already, some children yawned, and he could feel the hand raised in the air. He turned to find the people in question. One Cadet Mogali of House Qua. A bright girl, but one with more questions than answers. Yes, Cadet. Zarian pointed to her, his tone tired and without real interest. Naval tactician, since we're going to discuss mammalians, are we going to discuss humans? She blinked all four of her eyes in anticipation, and a hush fell over the room. Beaks clicked and feathers rustled. Of course they wanted to know about the space apes. Who wouldn't? No. His response was uninterested still, annoyed now, and he turned back to the board to write his notes.
But their voice cut him off, however. You know what? No. I'll just stick to 2. Oh, and it's perfect. It ended right on 650. And he turned back to the...
Another voice cut him off, however. Sir, they're undefeated. Surely they would be a worthy case study. Zarian sighed as the murmur flew through the crowd. More questions echoed through the stone halls, lost to the growing din, before he finally turned back around and regarded the room coldly. Silence fell again, eyes transfixed on him. To his part, he watched them in turn, and knew that with news from the front lines that humanity had joined in the Cordalian War, predicting a victory for Cordalia and the Empire, they would be interested. Every blasted news channel was talking as though the fighting was over. He resigned himself to this fact and placed the pen down. 2 paces forward, the sound of talon on polished stone, and he considered his words. Cadet Kadao, tell me, where is the best place to command a battle from? The cadet in question stood, his feathers folding flat, sure that such a simple question would be a trick. Still, he answered plainly.
Nope. Gonna make it call that a 450? Nope, a 400. Feathers folding flat.
Such a simple question would be a trick. Still, he answered plainly. From the bridge of a command ship, naval tactician! When the aged Daiko didn't immediately say anything, he continued. A Sargarian-class battleship would be ideal.
Code didn't immediately
continue. A Sargarian-class battleship would be ideal, with its well-equipped bridge and communications equipment. Zarian nodded, and turned to another section of the room. Cadet Paco, tell me, against the Hyuxian fleets, what would you say is the best deployment of vessels? Now he wanted to see how much they had studied the conflict. A test in real time. The cadet stood, flattening the subdued pink uniform.
Straightened. That's gonna be too much. Yep. Okay. Just one paragraph. Then 50. That stood.
Dude, pink uniform, he straightened. Currently, sir, considering recent tactics deployed by the Hyuxians, I would deploy 6 task forces, each commanded by a Sargarian, as suggested by Cadet Kadao. I would position
by the Hyoxians.
Task forces, each commanded by a Sargarian, as suggested by Cadet Gadao. I would position 4 cruisers, 10 destroyers, and 2 artillery cruisers with each. Lastly, I would command from a carrier, such as the Dow Skybreaker. My own task force comprised of 6 cruisers.
Such as the Dow's.
My own task force comprised of 6 cruisers and 8 frigates. He paused to consider his words for a moment, and concluded with, as Hyoxians focus on fast ships and hit-run tactics, this would make quick work of any ships they sent at my numbers. I could devastate their supply lines and render them ineffective. He swallowed hard, and then seated himself. Zarion nodded.
Alright, 2 pages left.
He swallowed hard. Zarion nodded. Excellent. A solid strategy, and very similar to the one your father deployed at the Battle of Zoria Prime. You study well, fledgling. He looked around the room, and his head cocked. Yet those tactics proved useless. The Hyoxians adapted. They too have studied our ways and are adjusting, as we are. Hence the stalemate we find ourselves in. One of you called out that humans are undefeated. Why is that? Confused looks bounced around. Truth was, little was known about human conflicts. They preferred to stay out of conflict, and global affairs as a whole. A mere 2 years ago, the Hyoxians were some of their strongest trading partners, and now they had joined in conflict against them. One student stood, and Zarion turned to regard her. Their use of electronic warfare and EMP weapons, this coupled with their fleet still making use of kinetic weapons, means that they are hard to counter effectively. Most people underestimate them since they don't mobilize large fleets. Zarion shook his head. Another stood in her place.
Nope. We're already at 750, so we don't have space to put in more. I hate that. Guess I have no choice.
Place. Then it has to be their use of stealth technology. Their ships can remain undetected at a great range. They get in close and strike, all before anyone can retaliate. Again, the naval tactician shook his head.
That one by itself is 800. And retaliate!
The naval tactician shook his head. None of these, he responded. And yet all of these. You are studying past human tactics. Their electronic warfare ships were used in the first human Xeno War, and their heavy use of stealth ships made for the War of the Orion Arm was notable. But both of those strategies are moves we have only seen them do once. No, there is only one true strategy employed by the humans, and that is the Chaos Doctrine. Another murmur filled the room. This time an almost excited energy accompanied it. Zarion allowed it to continue for a moment, waving his hand through the air, bringing hollow projectors to life, and in the middle of space, above his head, a vessel appeared. This is a United Human Nations warship, specifically the UNS Spearhead, a Ticonderoga-class battleship.
That is italic. The is also italic. Oga is also italic.
Spearhead, Oga-class battleship. She has 8 dorsal mass driver turrets of 4 barrels apiece, 6 ventral mounted of the same, 10 and 10 point defense cannons on the dorsal and ventral hull. A Tycon battleship. She has 8 dorsal mass driver turrets of 4 barrels apiece, 6 ventral mounted of the same, 10 and 10 point defense cannons on the dorsal and ventral hull as well, 15 flak cannons along the belt line, and 4 forward torpedo deployment systems, 2 aft. The sloped armor means that, if you are dumb enough to position a ship broadside to this vessel, all 14 of its cannons can hit you, and all 14 have a completely vertical firing path. This ship projects power. What is missing?
Shoot, 400. Yep. That was exactly half. That was a nice call.
Ship projects. What is missing? Discussions broke out. People studied the sharp angles, armor meant to deflect laser and kinetic weapon fire alike. Its massive engines mounted at the rear were augmented with a pair at the front on small wings of the bow. One of the few weapon blind spots. It could crawl, even if one disabled those rear engines. But the naval tactician had asked. There had to be something missing. One cadet approached and manipulated the model, turning it along the z-axis, studying it as it spun. Naval tactician? Where's their bridge? This earned him a pleased pat on the head.
Their bridge.
Turned him a pleased pat on the head. Humans do not have exposed bridges. Their command and control center is located in the center, far from them all. They rely on their heavy sensor technology to see. This isn't to say they don't have spotting rooms, should they need, but they are small and rely on people transmitting back to the commander and the gunners if they need. This has led to one of their most shocking tactics. The display shifted, and a Kalen dreadnought was displayed, surrounded by debris. Its hull was riddled by holes. Drifting slowly away from it was the climbing tower, the top of which sat the bridge. Human tactics dictate that, when engaging with aliens, Xenos as they call us, they immediately fire to disable the shields, and then do not target any other systems. The ships focus fire at the base of the bridge tower. If none is present, they hammer the bridge itself. Feathers rustled, and it interrupted. It was madness. Why attack the bridge when there were weapons emplacements, engines, critical systems? All this did was kill the command crew. Slowly, though, the din fell to silence as a dawn. Guns could be repaired, engines reignited, critical systems replaced. What the best commanders a species had? How did one counter that? It was a centuries-old tradition to be able to see the battlefield, something every other species mirrored.
Every other species, but human. But humans. Species mirror
Other species, but humans. How do we fight this naval technician? Came a meek question from the rear of the room. Zarion merely hung his head and stooped his shoulders, a standard sign of surrender. Sure, they could adapt, but humans had made their fleets to fight themselves before they discovered other species. They were used to fighting blind, fighting dirty. Their tactics changed by the day, and they seemed to study every other species, adding their tactics to their own. Tablets vibrated, news flashes coming through. Normally, this would draw ire from the instructor, but he let it slide. The Hyoxians had surrendered. Not a single shot had been fired by the human forces. Their ships arrived at the front line, and the commanders surrendered. In the face of chaos, unable to predict what was going to happen, the Hyoxians opted to simply lay down their guns. How did you protect an enemy with no rules? Who made it up as they went? Who laughed in the face of tradition? And so,
he was undefeated still. Move, save, export. Narration, one-shots. Alone Doughnut, Chaos Doctrine. Oh. Oh, what do I want to do now? I take a break, make some tea, some electrolytes. You know what? I'm just gonna mix up some electrolytes. That'll be good enough for now. Yes, I can take Chaos Doctrine, save, close. Chaos Doctrine. Save, close. Good. Alright, down to one final one. And Narrations. Creature 88, Creature 44, the grand finale. Bubble. Narrations. Only 19 minutes here, so that's enjoyable compared to 33 that a Memories of Creature 88 usually is. Effect. Normalize. Export. Creature 44, Creature 44, render. Or export. Technically doesn't count as rendering. There's the salt and the good flavor. There's the tolerable flavor. Along with the rest of the electrolytes, potassium, magnesium. What's it got? Calcium, magnesium, zinc, manganese, a little bit of sodium and potassium. Good stuff. Oh. That's rendered. The audio track first. Now, memories of Creature 88, Creature 44, Creature 44.
When Vincent.
Down. Delete. Zoom out. Out. Right. Down. Delete. Home. Zoom in. Good. Rich. 1728. All right. Background. Charcoal. Size 30. Color. Light gray. Full justification. 13 seconds. Let's watch Specky. 6 seconds. 5, 4, 3. It already finished. 2, 3, 2, 1, 0. There it goes. And there's the second drop. But yeah, you can kind of see. You can see how it was. The drop was split. Some cores dropped, others didn't. Interesting. Cool. Well, that's that. All right. There we go. Only 7 pages. What do I call this? Making some tea. Be right back. Burb. Get a burb, burb, burb. Burb, a burb. Burb is the
dance around in a circle.
Oh. Ah. 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 Lovely, delicious tea. Unfortunately, it's the jasmine tea, so I need to be careful to not let it steep for too long because otherwise, the jasmine just, or excuse me, not the jasmine, lavender tea. If I let it steep for too long, the lavender completely overpowers the tea, and it is no good at all. Also, adding a little bit of heavy cream. Requires a comma. All right. I need a little break from this. And there's a very simple solution to this. I'm planning on playing this at some point on my gaming channel. I've been just having a little bit of fun here. Just kind of whenever I'm a little bored, don't want to work on something. And got a line right here, yeah. Alright. Grand Compendium of Healing Magic it is. Volume 10. Arcus Rotten Spells, number 1. Creation, Dimension. 7. Using magical bows. 9. Honor Curse Compendium. 4 Books of Alchemy. It's right there. 7 Terror Illusions. Shatter your enemy's mind. Mind-moving characters. 1. Constellations. Volume 4. Age of Draconic. Ethics of Responsibility and Restraint. R. 2, 3, 4. 1,000 spells to use at home. Books of Alchemy, Potion Safety should be right there, yes. And Books of Light, Volume 2. Let's go grab some more. It's my line. Stealth techniques. Concealment among nearby objects. Trans-temporal summons. Think, therefore I am. 7. Rotten Spells. Mystery Fiction. Judgment of the Spectral Tribunal. Alchemist's Field Guide. Natural Materials and Forming. That is not the right place. 7. There we go. Books of Alchemy. Practical Extraction of High Pure Essences. Volume 1. Compendium of Necromancy, The Beginner's Guide. I have Magic Supply and Chain Management. Or how to Mute with magic. Guide to Everyday Magic, Volume 6, Contract Law. Right Adventure. Go. That's another series of books added. Spells Earth. 1. Time Equation, Absolute Order hidden behind Irregularity. Is that a new one? Yes, it is. And Art of the Arrow. Volume 2, 1450. Pretty darn good. Made some good progress here. I think I can do one more stack of 15 and then we'll be good. It's Compendium of Necromancy, Beginner's Guide. 3. Musical Saints. There's another one done. Dragon Summoning 8. Spells. Energy Volume 2. Ritual Design for the Practicing Necromancer. The Dragon's Vein. Shui Volume 1. Realities of Proper Disbandment. Mastery of Mimicry. Yeah, that's the one that I still cannot figure out where that's supposed to go. Everyone's elfish instead. That very easily goes here. Magic ring that steals reason. That's novel. No. Item. And Scion of the Axe God. Or soul. Body, are they truly distinct? Boom. String and grids. Mentals of power and nation. Oh. Misery Art, sovereignty over the 5 senses. 2. To the Demon King, the Archmage's Conquest. next? There we are. 1465. We got the entire top of the library done. We got this little path of this side done. Well, something. Yeah, I'll sweep it along there. Sweep along there. I guess we'll take everything there. Move on there. Walk along there. Clean all the way back to here. Jeez, that's gonna take a while. Guess we can move down the middle. That's right. Up at the door. Alright. That's enough dilly-dallying for now. Anyway, it's 110. Oh, 108. 110's close enough. We got 19 minutes of this. Let's see how long it takes us.
Wait, what are you doing here?
When Vincent opened his eyes and
It would help if I actually plugged my earbuds in. They're useful.
stepped out of the. When Vincent opened his eyes and stepped out of the down and waved at his real body down the way. For a moment, he thought he saw his prime open his eyes and wave back. But when he blinked, the eyes were closed again. He looked around then, a little confused. No clothes? Why had Cavazor not set out his clothes? He walked down the hall and into the Irvesh's office. Cavazor, what the hell? Irvesh started to turn around, and then closed his eyes and flinched away.
Put your pants on!
He lifted a hand to shield his eyes, but Vincent just snorted. Yeah, that would be easier if you'd set them out. Suddenly, the Irvesh blinked, and realized who he was talking to.
Wait, what are you doing here?
Talking to.
What are you doing here?
I presume I died? Vincent shrugged.
No, I mean, why are you here? I didn't receive a notice of death.
He turned back to his console and scanned it for a moment.
Nothing. Did you blow your brains out or something? How come I didn't get a notification?
I don't know. Vincent shrugged once more, now honestly confused. Last time I updated, I thought I was going to be in committees all day.
You were supposed to be. What did you do? Don't tell me you got so bored you killed yourself, Creature 88. In a hierarchy meeting, no less.
Center. 1, 2, 3. Center. Center. 400.
You killed yourself. In a hierarchy meeting, no less.
I don't fucking know, Cavazor. I just got here. I'm as confused as you are. Irvesh began to check his console now, trying to find out what had happened.
Pants are over there. Get dressed.
He waved a hand at some lockers to the side, and Vincent wandered over to them, starting to get dressed as he wondered what was up.
Yo, open. Page flip.
Dressed as he wondered what was up.
wondered what was up. It took a full week. It took a full week before. And we fit 2. Justify. Yes, we can. $800. Perfect. Yes. Does he want?
It took a full week before Vincent finally got to see Mock to try and find out what had happened. He had a pretty damn good idea when he heard that the Draconic Senate began some sort of investigation, and several different battles started in Sector 1 and various holdings across Union space. Not to mention, when he got back to his apartment and found his mother's golden orb was gone. While he had expected the dragon to fill him in and use his help in the battle with the other dragons, Vincent was left in the dark, and even
No. And you had to jump to 850.
gone. The dragon to fill him in and use his help in the battle with the other dragons, Vincent was left in the dark, and even Vera told him that the Urveshan hierarchy in general would do nothing to stop what had been tagged as an internal affair. Thankfully, the hierarchy meetings about large-scale cigarette sales were postponed, so he got back to traditional detective work. Armed robbers to catch, black blood dealers to apprehend. He even caught an idiot who'd killed his wife in an argument, and tried to hide the evidence by eating her. Vincent wondered where he'd come up with that crazy idea. It was a strange week for him, much more like he had been used to before finding Bryan's hand, was it a month ago? 2? Shit. Felt like way longer than that.
Go. We made our first page down.
Shit, felt like way longer than that. However, Mock finally did send him an invitation to his estate to celebrate the final end. When Vincent took the familiar lift up to Mock's estate, he couldn't help but notice.
State, comma.
When Vincent up to Mock's estate, he couldn't help but notice several structures he passed had some sort of construction work going on. Even a wing of Mock's massive mansion had scaffolding around it, and what looked like holes in the side. But to his great surprise, there were only 2 satyr wings. And what looked like, but to his great surprise, there were only 2 satyr waiting for him at the gatehouse. They were in silver armor with gold stripes. Honor guard? The 2 guards nodded as he approached, and turned to escort him through the edge of the estate, past the manicured gardens and fountains like always. However, he noticed the garden was a little messier than usual. There were a few scorch marks here and there, and it looked like a number of fresh plants had just been planted. When he saw closer to the little alcove he had first met Mock in, shocked him, though. It looked like even Satyr and Mock's employment were gathering around tables without their armor on. They were just wearing normal clothes, eating, drinking, laughing, talking. They were having a party.
Satyr and Mock's planted. What he saw closer to the little alcove he had first met Mock in shocked him, though. It looked like even Satyr and Mock's employment. And there we go. Let's get a new one. It looked like every satyr in Mock's employment were gathered around tables without their armor on. Which satyr.m4a. Do bum 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 bum. It looked like every satyr. Dean. Madam. Ma-da-da-da-da. Bum 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 bum. Bedoid. Bedoid.
When he's alcove he had first met Mock in shocked him, though. It looked like every satyr in Mock's employment were gathered around tables without their armor on. They were just wearing normal clothes.
He had first met Mock in shocked him, though. It looked like every gain. Nope, not color grading. Gain volume. Call that a -2. first met Maka and shocked him, though. It looked like every satyr in Maka's employment were gathered around tables without their armor on. They were just wearing normal. If he had first met, though.
It looked like every satyr in Maka's employment were gathered around tables without their armor on. They were just wearing normal clothes, eating, drinking, laughing, talking. They were having a party, and it looked like they were having fun. As he walked past, a number of them waved and lifted their glasses or bottles, and all he could do was give a confused
smile and nod back. Go there.
And all he could do was smile and nod back. When he reached the alcove, he saw Mock inside standing at a massive barbecue, cooking a large variety of different things. It looked like Vincent had made it just in time. Your guest is here, sir, the honor guard said.
Your guest is here, sir.
Hey, sir, the honor guard said as they escorted Vincent up to the dragon. Mock glanced over, and Vincent was just as shocked as before to see the dragon, wearing a regular t-shirt, what looked to be jeans, and an apron that said Galaxy's Best Boss. Vincent had never seen him in anything other than a suit. This was an odd look. What are you two doing in uniform? Go get changed, get something to drink, and join the party. I demand it. But sir, you will monitor security. I'm giving you a direct command to go change into something more comfortable and join the party.
$6.50. Back to the right size now.
Go change and join the party. The two honor guards stood still for a second, before finally nodding. Yes, sir. They both echoed, before turning to walk towards the mansion. Mock, meanwhile, smiled at Vincent and waved him over. As Vincent walked closer, Mock gripped his shoulder.
Smiled at Vincent.
As Vincent walked closer, Mock gripped his shoulder and gave a squeeze that made Vincent wince and gasp. Sorry. Mock let go and then laughed, giving Vincent a backslap that made him stagger forward. Really? You always seem so much stronger. Yeah, well, stop it. Vincent groaned a bit and shifted. Mock scraped 2 blue hamburgers off the grill and flipped them over before waving towards some covered up meat near the end of his prep table. I had those prepared
for you. $5. And we fit 2. Yes, we can. Perfect 800. Not even over.
Meat near the end. I had those prepared just for you. Vincent walked over, pulling the foil back as he saw what looked like slabs of skirt steak. They'd been rubbed with some sort of marinade, and he noticed a bag of small purple fruits next to them. They looked a bit like limes. Oh, this is just like my dad used to cook with me, he said, picking up one of the fruits and rolling it around in his hand for a moment. He saw Mock glance over and explained, you get more juice if you roll it around first. Then he set the fruit down and picked up a knife, laying on the table to cut it open. He sniffed at it and smiled at the citrus scent. It wasn't quite lime, but it was close. Picking up one of the skirt steaks with his bare hand, he walked over and dropped it on the grill, listening to the sizzle before he squeezed the fruit in his hand to get the juices to squirt out, hearing the additional sizzle, and taking a long sniff as the smells rose up. Oh, that smells good. He smiled as he thought back on warm nights with his dad, cooking in the backyard while his mom prepared some veggies he'd never eat. He laughed at the thought and felt sad for a moment. He began to lay out the rest of the steak, cutting up
fruit as he needed them.
Felt sad for him. He began to lay out the rest of the steak, cutting up more fruit as he needed them. You told me about this idea before you destroyed your black box on the reclamator, Mock said, as he turned over other pieces of meat as they cooked on the grill. This recipe is actually something dragons used to make long before we had dedicated servants to cook for us. That's a bit barbaric, but I like that. I think it's time to get in touch with our roots, so to speak. Well, it smells fantastic. Vincent looked up at the dragon and finally couldn't hold back. Did we get them? The dragon paused and nodded slowly. We did. We got them. The Senate has been purged of all Warden sympathizers. Of course, it will take time before the legal paperwork is finished, but in essence, it's over. What about? Vincent didn't finish, as Mock pulled a small glowing gold orb out of his apron and handed it to Vincent.
Let's see if we that much. We're down to 4 already. And
gold orb out to Vincent. Quite the warmth. It's enough to make me miss my own mother. Wait, does this mean Vincent was worried until the dragon shook his head. You rescued her. I saw it. I was left behind in the machine. I don't honestly understand the technology, nor pretend to know where to begin. Neither you rescued another clone, nor the original as it seemed like, and whatever spirit of hers is still in this. The dragon shrugged. But you did rescue her. Then you and Bryan followed their leader to the portal he used to find your own planet. The three of you killed him before I could get there to help. Once there, you convinced me that the portal was too powerful to keep, that your people weren't ready for the Union. You can be quite persuasive sometimes. So the three of you went home, and I destroyed the portal for you. Really? Vincent was surprised that Mock would agree to such a thing.
Dragon nodded slowly. Let's see if we can 3 paragraphs. Yes, we can, and exactly 800.
That Mock would agree. But the dragon nodded slowly. I can show you the site if you're curious. The entire Senate knows about it now, of course. I couldn't have kept it to myself even if I had wanted to. So, while your Prime and the rest of your clones are still stuck here, at least one copy gets to have a nice...
And the rest of your clone
here. At least one copy gets to have a nice life back home with your mother and new stepfather. Vincent snorted and laughed a little. Well, shit. At least one of me gets a happy ending. He sighed, and then looked off the edge of the estate at the clouds below, feeling the warmth of the sun bathing him, as he held the glowing orb in his hand. He felt a sense of peace. He pocketed the orb then, and smiled up at Mock. Well, I appreciate you listening to reason to destroy the portal. I'd have hated to have to kill you. The dragon laughed at that. I'm the one with the army, you know. But I could tell it might be a point of contention between us, and I knew there might be a chance you were right. So I figured it would be best to let one of you go home. Hopefully you'll grow old and die in bed with a beautiful woman. Vincent
laughed at that. That's probably too much. Yep. Definitely too much. Okay, we'll just get rid of that. Oh no. Change you to 750. Change you back to apartment.
grow old and die. Woman. Vincent laughed at that. Knowing my luck, I'll get hit by a car the first day back. He smiled and started to turn to the party behind him. I guess I'll go get drunk now. I have something to really celebrate. Not so fast. You have to help me get everyone fed. Once they've all got what they want, then you can go. But until then, you're helping out. Mock nodded at the meat, and Vincent grinned as he picked up a set of tongs to help start flipping things over. And of course, tend to the skirt steak he'd left on the grill. Well, aren't you a slave driver? I guess I can help. Besides, you'll have plenty of time to relax soon. I talked to Greena and got you a month-long vacation. That's about time you had one. Shit. Well, that was nice. I guess I'll get used to being bored in my apartment.
Bored in my apartment. And back to 800. No chats? Really no chats? Okay. Fine.
That was nice. Get used to being bored in my apartment. Oh no. I've got you set up for an all-expense-paid VIP vacation to one of the Union's finest tropical paradise worlds. I want you to see more of our fine nation and the people in it. Well, thanks. Vincent wasn't sure what else to say. I'm not sure how to pay you back. You saved the Union, Vincent. This is... I'm not sure how... You saved the Union, Vincent. This is me paying you back. Well, I appreciate it. Now then, let's get to work. He waved over some of the Seder, and they grabbed their plates, wandering over to start getting the meat Mock and Vincent had cooked up. In time, they all had what they wanted, and Vincent loaded up a plate with that skirt steak, and other things Mock recommended, before wandering out to the tables to find himself a drink, and get to know the Seder. Once he was gone, the figure carefully moved from her hiding spot among the statues of the alcove, to stand near Mock.
No one could see her. Too much? Too much. To stand.
Except, no one can see her. You're not going to tell him the truth? No, Zerny. Mock kept his back to the party, so no one would see his mouth moving while... he talked to the camouflage Xeno. No, I will not. And if you ever try, I'll crush your skull in my hand. He's my friend. He deserves some happiness in his life. But what he described...
Happiness in his life.
But he destroyed really could be very dangerous. Now I've seen some of the notes they kept. If I'm reading it right, their leader was incorrect about the position of Vincent's home planet. Or, he might be right about where it was, but he mistook that for where it is now. Either way, Vincent will likely never know that a clone of his is not happily living back home, and I'm going to keep it that way. Now then, either join the party and have a good time, or fuck off. The dragon growled those last two words, pronouncing them each forcefully. He looked over, staring straight at where Zerny was, despite being essentially invisible. Forcefully. Staring straight at where Zerny was, despite being essentially invisible, before the Xeno crawled back into the bushes, reappearing from another direction, clear as day, waving to Vincent as she joined the party. The dragon was left alone in the alcove now, and he let out a soft sigh, letting his wings relax for a moment, before he picked up one of the skirt steaks that Vincent had cooked. After giving a sniff, he took a big bite and smiled. That is good.
It's good. And let's see if we can take you. $800. You know what? No. Take just you. 50.
Bite and smile is good. Vincent, meanwhile, had started to get drunk and was planning on making a few mistakes that afternoon. Mock surprised everyone by bringing out some live music, and at first Vincent groaned, expecting those strange electronic sounds that hurt his ears. But to his surprise, some satyr walked out of the estate with a guitar, stand-up bass, trumpet, and Mock himself hauled out an upright piano. Apparently, the dragon wanted to start a new trend with the music Vincent called jazz, which was really an idea Vincent could get behind. He began to somewhat drunkenly explain how to swing dance to the satyr when Mock's final surprise arrived. Piranha walked through the gardens in a nice little floral dress, and Vincent smiled as he saw her. Quickly waving her over, he bowed and then extended a hand. My name is Vincent, and I'd like to dance with you.
Center 1, 2, 200. All that 300. 300 it is. Called it correctly.
And Vincent, I'd like to dance with you. The Xeno blinked in surprise before taking his hand in hers. Hello, Vincent. I'd like to dance. He pulled her close and began to more properly show everyone how he liked to dance. It was terrible, of course, because he was fairly drunk and not much of a dancer. But everyone had fun, and that's what mattered.
What? Turn that to a 700.
Fun. And that's 3 days later, Vincent was walking down the ramp of the luxurious yacht Mock had hired to take him out to the tropical planet he was supposed to have his vacation on. It was quite a nice place, it seemed. 2 moons, lots of small tropical islands, warm weather, cool water, and, most importantly for Vincent, there was a lot of sailing. He slid his new sunglasses into place as he looked around with a big smile and saw some approaching hotel staff. Thanks, sir. I don't have any. I'm wearing the only clothes I own, so I plan on buying lots while I'm here. He grinned and laughed, still in a very good mood. The hotel before him was massive, and he looked up at it while he walked, noticing the very orderly Union-style signs everywhere, pointing out spas, pools, bars, restaurants, shops, and more. He kept his eye on the sign for the harbor, of course, but he'd need to sign it first. As he walked into the structure, he took in the wide open lobby with marble floors and stained wood walls before approaching the front desk. Floors and stained wood walls to the front desk. Before he could even reach it, a flustered-looking bird elf
Before approaching the front desk.
Before he could even reach it, a flustered-looking bird elf. Fuck, what was the name of their species? She could never remember. Either way, one of those in a hotel uniform.
She could never remember.
Either way, very well. Come right this way. Ken Mock had really set him up for this. Either way, one of those in a hotel uniform quickly scampered over to him. There you are. Come right this way. Can't keep you waiting. Vincent smiled as he began to follow her. It seemed like Mock had really set him up for the VIP treatment. They boarded a lift which went straight to the top floor of the building. The room is just down this way. He passed by maids in cute little uniforms, and other guests who looked a bit confused by his appearance, but he just smiled as he followed. There were 2 nervous-looking Xenos standing guard in front of a door down the hall. They looked like a cross between an iguana. This way. He passed by maids in cute little uniforms, and other guests who looked a bit confused by his appearance, but he just smiled as he followed. There were two nervous-looking Xenos standing guard in front of a door down the hall. They looked like a cross between an iguana and a seal, with patches of short, shimmering fur, but also a pointed lizard-like tail and a ridged back. Probably just nervous about the VIP, he figured. He'd settle their nerves soon enough. Just in here, the female bird elf said, as she
Into a room called the Hierarchy Suite 2. Can we fit 2? $30. I'll take it. Alright, 30.
as she led him to Hierarchy Suite 2. Inside, you could see more marble floors and fancy wood furniture, with a breathtaking view out over the bay. But there was this funky smell. Then he saw the body. It was face down in the main room, a curved knife jutting out of his back, cut wounds everywhere, and a dry pool of blood circling the body. It wasn't a species he recognized. I'm not sure how you got here in less than a day, but I can see why the Hierarchy would send a shade to investigate. And a circling the body. It wasn't a species he recognized. I'm not sure how you got here in less than a day, but I can see why the Hierarchy would send a shade to investigate the death of someone so important. I really appreciate it if you kept this investigation quiet, however, as we're expecting a very important dragon VIP today, and I don't want his vacation to be unsettled by this. I'll go fetch the hotel detective, and she can fill you in on what we know. Before Vincent could stop her, the Xeno had walked out, leaving him alone in the room with the dead body. He sighed, removing his sunglasses before rubbing the bridge of his nose along with his eyes. Then he stopped and walked past the body out to the balcony. This high up, there was a nice breeze, and he got a better view of the crystal clear blue water below. He could hear bits of laughter here and there, as the families and couples down below enjoyed vacation.
Couples down below and
He pulled a pack of cigarettes from his jacket, tapping out one stick. Firebirds. Earlier in the week, the chemist guild, who was in charge of manufacturing the new cigarettes, had taken a flavor profile from him and made this particular brand. He heard they were too harsh for most people, but that felons enjoyed them. Go figure. He held the cigarette in his lips and pulled out the new lighter Mock had given him. One side was black with a phoenix on it. The other side was gold with a black human skull on it. It wasn't quite a Zippo, but it was damn close. He clicked it open and flicked the wheel to get a flame going. He puffed on the cigarette to get it burning, and then took a deep breath before letting the smoke bellow out of his nostrils. Glancing over his shoulder at the body within the room, he said, "Another day in paradise, huh?" Shaking his head, he looked back out, leaning over the balcony railing. Well, at least I won't get bored.
we are. There we are. Boom. That is the end of Memories of Creature 88. Now, there are more side stories, so I'll get to those eventually. Let's put up the privacy filter for a bit. Yeah, got the privacy good. Studio 10. Alright, well, render's also done. Been done for a while. Sent out info to Regal Legal that we finished narrating his story. And yeah, that's that. I guess I need to upload at least this chapter, chapter 43. Push that live onto Patreon and get it scheduled, or push it live on Patreon and locals, get it scheduled everywhere else. And then also schedule Troublemakers. And then I can go to sleep. Hey. Hey. Yeah. I guess that's that. Kind of a shame we had no people hanging out today. Partially, I guess, my fault for not doing Twitch, but I'm sick and tired of Twitch being stupid, so yeah. Anyway, bye everyone.